Said earlier that there would be a 3 o'clock prayer rally. The prayer rally is actually 2 o'clock. And you're all invited there, but you also may want to stay here because we're going to do some amazing things here. I'm introducing now Mark Cook, who is IT management training, technical direction, project management, network architecture, network design, database design administration, network and cybersecurity, system virtualization, forensics and data recovery, penetration testing, software development, wireless architecture and optimization, security, surveillance systems design and installation, embedded systems design, installation, diagnosis, and optimization. Mark spends his time diagnosing complex systems, specializing in root cause analysis. We want to know what the cause is, why our elections aren't turning out in any reasonable way, and Mark is here to answer that question. Welcome, Mark.
Yeah, it's on Rumble.
Cool. Thank you all. I'm going to do a lot of sitting and working on the computer, but I'm going to walk you through everything
TX first,
as well. So
it'll be on there.
I'll move around here. Okay. So I've been in engineering a very long time. I started writing software when I was 10 to 13 years old. I ran one of the largest bulletin boards in the western U.S. when I was 13. Been doing this a very long time. Back in the CompuServe Prodigy days, before the internet, this is when I started this. So I watched the entire progression all the way through. I have been to a lot of states, as you can see. I've talked to election officials. I've interviewed poll workers. I've helped teams, data teams, forensic teams, trying to figure out what is going on. About 2 years ago, after this election, there was this huge question about what happened. And I have never understood how our election systems work. In fact, most of you probably didn't either. And we didn't know what happens when you hand your ballot in between there and the time it shows up on the TV screen. Did anyone understand that? No. And the surprising thing was, I talked to election officials all over the country. Not a single one has been able to answer that question either. These are the people we elect to run our elections. They had never even thought about it in many cases, and when they started asking questions, they were blocked. That's a problem. So to understand the system, it's basically 4 components. Okay, so we have a voter registration system, we have a voter validation system, a tabulation system, and a reporting system. Those are the 4 basic components of our voting system. So the voter registration system controls the number of ballots in circulation. The voter validation system controls the people that are allowed to bring a ballot into the system. The tabulation controls or counts the number of ballots and how they get counted, tabulated. And the reporting system is what's responsible for reporting this information to us as citizens. So in the past, we had precinct and state controlled systems here. So the precinct and county, it was very decentralized, just like it was designed to be, where the citizens had access and visibility. In fact, the citizens took part in their elections, and their elected officials took part. It was really their responsibility to make sure they ran it in a way that the citizens had trust in it. So over time, we had this start to change, and we ended up where we're at now. So back then, it was a very high transparency system, and that's what gave us the freedom that we have. We had confidence in that. Now, we fast forward a little bit over the past 20 years, and our systems started to migrate into state and corporate control. What happened is we started outsourcing these systems to these corporations. And we started taking the decentralized nature of our elections and centralizing it, and then handing that control over to other entities. So the citizens have started to lose agency in their own elections. These elections belong to us. We use them to elect the people that represent us, not the people that rule us. And we are not told who wins our elections. We should be the ones determining that based on us counting our own votes. So just to give you an idea, this is Texas alone. Paper poll books, right now only 1.4% of the counties here in Texas have paper poll books. The rest of it is controlled by corporations that control your poll books. In the country, we have about 18% that are still holding on to paper poll books, but the rest, all controlled by these corporations. Who owns these corporations? Whose interests do they have? Exactly. Well, they know everything, right? It all does. So the tabulation system, very similar as well. Here's who counts your vote. Right now, you have 0.1% hand-counted paper ballots. So the citizens here, you guys, count 0.1% of your ballots. The corporations count the rest of them. In the entire country, 0.2% of the U.S. citizens count their ballots. And 99.8% are counted by corporations. How many times do corporations do things we don't want them to do or aren't upfront about what they're doing? Right? This is absurd that we've allowed it to get to this point. So I did a little bit of research. A little. And I did do a little. These are just some of the articles I found since 2000 from the mainstream media indicating, warning the citizens about problems with electronic voting systems. So it's odd that they say now that there's no issue, when for 20 years they've been screaming there's issues. And these are all articles you can easily look up. CNN or NBC here claimed that they're warning that modems in the machines are a bad idea and that the election's only 10 months away. Okay, there's a modem. That's what they look like. And they were actually removed from North Carolina County. So this is a system that we're told doesn't have modems. Then all of a sudden, magically, they start removing them, the things that don't exist, right? That is a Wi-Fi card. That's how small these are. In fact, they're much, much smaller now. This picture was taken a while ago. This is in Mesa report, let's see, number 2. And I believe 31 or 33 of these devices were found in Mesa County, Colorado in the election equipment. I went to El Paso County during a recount. I talked to the IT administrator there who's responsible for setting these systems up. And I said, you know there's wireless cards in all these, right? Yeah. I said, okay, but why don't you just remove them? Well, they're disabled. I said, okay, well, IT guy to IT guy, we know you can just go in the software and re-enable it. He says, yeah. I said, so why wouldn't you just open the back and pop the card out? I said, we're not allowed to. But you're right. Yeah. So they're in there. But here's the thing. Why put them in there? If these systems aren't supposed to be connected to the internet or connected to anything, why have them in there in the first place? When it takes 20 seconds to remove it. Or maybe just not order it when you're speccing the system out. Why are they adding that? If they specifically have to click on it to add it to the configuration of the system, why do that? So can you spot that modem? There it is, up in the upper corner, and of course, made in China. Okay, now, I'm going to show you something here. This is a vulnerability in one of the voting systems that's used in the country, and it's not used here in Texas. Luckily, Texas said thumbs down to this company a little while ago, but it is used in a good majority of the country. So I'm going to show you a couple little demos here. Now, usually in my presentation, I don't give the live demo. You guys are lucky because I'm going to do a live demo. All right, so we'll switch to this. Now, in Mesa County, I was lucky enough to be one of the forensic investigators on this system. So I actually got probably the first look at this particular voting system. And I'm not going to say which one it is.
Is it art?
So this is what I looked at. And this is a replica. Basically, it's an exact duplicate image of the voting system. It's like a carbon copy of it as it exists in the county. And this is the main server that the election officials have access to, and anyone that has access to that room where this is could sit down in front of it. And so I booted it up and looked at it. First thing I did is click on the little start button here to see, okay, I was just curious, what's in here? And I noticed the SQL Server Tool 17. Now I've been doing this over 35 years. SQL Server is a database program made by Microsoft, and it's used in a whole lot of systems. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good piece of software. If properly secured, it's a good piece of software. There's a tool in SQL Server Tools that's called SQL Server Management Studio, and Russ had mentioned that. SQL Server Management Studio is a free tool from Microsoft that allows you to get into the back end of the database and bypass the security features within the software application. So this voting system, you could bypass the security features in it and go right into the database if this software existed on there. So I saw this and thought, well, I better click on it just to see. There's no way that it would be on here, would there? I saw it. I clicked on it, thought, well, there's no way it's going to run. It's got to give me an error message of some sort. It ran. But it's asking for a username and password. So I figured, obviously, they've secured that. But I'll just try clicking connect without typing anything in, just to see it. Hopefully, obviously, there's no way it's going to let me in. It'll let me right in. Keep in mind, anyone sitting in front of this computer can do this. The janitor and the election official, the volunteer, whoever has access to this system could do this, and none of this is logged. So all these logs they talk about and all these audits they can do, everything in here is not logged. Now it can be if it's configured properly, but I looked, it's not. In fact, it's specifically disabled in here. So then I thought, well, there's no way they're going to let me look at the databases. What do you know? There's the databases. And here is the 2020 Mesa County General election. Well, there's no way it's going to let me open it. Oh, I guess it did. Well, it's not going to let me see the tables that are in it. Oh, wow, there's all the tables. Okay, so it's let me seeing this stuff, okay, but will it let me actually look at one of these tables? So we'll go down here and let's try this one. Let's see if I can ask it to show me the top 1,000 rows. Wow, there it is. And look, there's the no's, the yeses. These are the candidates listed right in the back end of the voting system database. Okay, so it can show it to me. I get that. Now let's check something else. I'm looking, I just kind of looked around. Let's pull up and see if it'll let me see the results so far. So I'm going to look in this. It's called programmability, stored procedures here. And we're going to run one of these built-in scripts that are here. Contest results. So we're going to execute this. Contest 1 is the presidential. Let's see if it'll let me run the results and actually pull data from the database. And it did. Biden, 31,536 votes. Trump, 56,000 something. Okay, so it's let me pull that. Now, is there a chance that it's going to let me make a change to this? Right? Seeing is one thing, but changing is a whole different ballgame, right? So we're going to go back into here. And I'm going to go ahead and select Edit. Let's see if it gives me an error message. No error message. I'll widen this column a little bit. We'll go to the very bottom. See that? Joe Biden? Okay. There's a little ID number here called internal machine ID. Notice it's a number 1 for Biden. Scroll up a little bit. Notice Donald Trump is a 2. Now here's a little trick. What if we just swap the 1 for a 2 and 2 for a 1? I wonder if we could actually make that change in here. Let's see if this system would let us do it. Again, I could be an election official doing this, that, you know, at late at night when no one else is around, or janitor. Yeah.
I have a question. Can you manipulate the 0 types?
Yeah, everything can be manipulated. I'll get there.
Okay, so
Everything can be. So here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that 2 to a 1, which I just did. Didn't give me an error message. It'll let me do it. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to change this 1 to a 2. It just let me do that also. Now, I'm going to go back to that same report and I'm going to pull that report again. I'm going to click execute, and I'm going to see if this report changes. Keep your eye on the Trump and Biden numbers right here. Here we go. I'm executing the report. They just flipped. Now Biden 56,000, Trump 31,000. If I'm able to do that, and any election official is able to do it, and anyone sitting in front of their systems are able to do it, how on earth could this be a secure system? How would any citizen even know this happened? Wouldn't know it. In fact, the other people working there wouldn't know it either. So that's pretty scary. So I thought, well, what else could you do? I wonder if you could, that you have to be sitting in front of that computer, but what if you plugged in another computer? Let's say you brought in a laptop and you plugged it into that same voting system network where the printers and all the tabulators and everything are connected to, just like in your house. You have your printers, you've got your computers, you've got your modem, and they're all connected. And your TVs, your Rokus, it's all on the same network. So I wonder if I connected another computer to it. Clearly, this voting system computer has to be so locked down that you could only do this, even though it's a bad idea, you could only do it from this computer, nowhere else on the network, right? So what I'll do is I'll put this off over here, and I'll pull up this other computer. So on the left side is my spare laptop, different operating systems running Windows 11, totally different. And on the right side is what we were just looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down just so we can see the results of the report here. I'm going to open up SQL Server Management Studio. It's a free download from Microsoft. I just downloaded it before I got here, installed it. I'm going to click on it and run it. Up it comes. I put the name in, which is the name for that server on the same network, and I'm going to click connect. And I figured right here it's going to give me an error message. No error message. Now I did put the password in, which I was able to easily look up, and I'll show you what they did in California, and you'll understand how easy some of these passwords are. But anyone running these systems would know what the password is. In fact, the voting system vendor would know what the password is. In a lot of cases, the hired technicians might know what the passwords are. And if one person knows what the passwords are, anyone can know what they are. In fact, there are even backdoor accounts on these with passwords that the voting system companies know that the users, the election officials, don't know. In fact, I'm taking advantage of one of those right now. So same thing, can I open up the databases? Wow, I can. Can I open up the 2020 general? Yes, I can. Can I take a look at tables? Yes, I can. It's exactly the same interface, same everything. I can edit it right here. Same access. Identical. From a computer that's not even a voting system computer. This is a computer I brought from home, essentially. So then I thought, okay, well, I wonder if this same thing could be done by perhaps a cell phone. Could you use an iPhone to change the results of an election? Maybe. So what I'll do here is I'm going to use this other computer. We're going to change this 2 back to a 1. And then we're going to go back here and we'll change the 1 to a 2. And we're going to check again. So we'll re-execute that, and notice it's flipped back to normal. So now I have an iPhone here. And I'm going to show you this so y'all can follow along. Which network window? Yes, if you did, you would see all the devices on there. Yep, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on some screen sharing. So you're going to see my screen, as is if everything works like it's supposed to. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run SQL Server. It's MS SQL Pro. It's a free download from the App Store. And we're looking at it, and when I started up, what I did is I went and I just put in the IP address of the EMS server, the voting system server, and notice the green light in the upper left corner, that green dot. When I press on it, I expected, well, maybe we'll get an error message. It says connecting. Wow, right in. From an iPhone. Pulls up all the databases. There's the Mesa County General, right there. And there's all the tables. Okay, well, can we do the same thing? Can we make that change? Let's go to choice again. We'll edit it. We'll go ahead and let me widen this a little bit on the name so we can see it. We'll scroll all the way to the bottom. Again, from an iPhone. There's the 1 for Biden. Let's change it to a 2. A little bit different interface. We go here, backspace, put a 2 in, save. There's the command that's going to send to the database. Press confirm. It's done. Now we're going to go back up here. We'll find Trump here. There it is. We'll change the 2 to a 1. These systems, we're told, are the safest and most secure systems out there. So I just made the 2 changes. Now I'm going to pull the same report again. Flipped again. I haven't really played with it that way, but it would definitely confuse it. I would think if they're both 1, we might see one of them is a 0. It might zero it out because it wouldn't be able to locate that ID. But yeah, if you can, and I could also just rename them. I could change Trump to Biden and Biden to Trump. I don't have to change those numbers. And I can also get in and add votes and remove votes. It's all fully open and fully accessible. I'll get questions at the end here because I got to get through this quickly. So I'll show you yet another interesting thing. I thought, well, okay, so you can do all that, but you have to actually have a piece of equipment. You have to know how to do it, right? Well, what if you just happen to work there and you don't know anything about computers, but someone said, if you take this little USB drive and you plug this in to any of the computers there, $100,000 might show up in your account tomorrow. And you don't know what this thing is. It just looks like a flash drive. Okay. So I walk in, plug it in. So everyone watching. I've just plugged it in. Watch what happens. My hands are nowhere near the keyboard. This is a keyboard emulator. It's not just a flash drive. It actually pretends it's a keyboard, and it sends keystrokes into the computer. Again, into another back-end tool that is pre-installed in this voting system. It's not listed on the certified software, but the vendor did install it. And it just made that same change to the database, and it's gone. Disappeared, no trace, off the screen. No one would notice that. And it could sit there idle and run at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning also. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this report again, and let's see if they flip. Right now, Biden's at 56, Trump's at 31. Full report. Flipped again. And that, all I do is just plug that in. Right? Now, it gets even worse, because not only is that device a keyboard emulator, but it's also a wireless access point. And, sir, would you mind connecting to the wireless network? See, I think it's called wireless backdoor. And this is something that can be done from a parking lot. No, this could be done outside the building. By the way, this system does not have a connection to the internet. There's no connection to the internet. I can pull up a web browser, it's not going to go anywhere. Network cable's over here.
It says weak security.
Yeah, so go ahead and connect to it. When you get that check mark, pull up Safari. All right, now go to this website, 192.168.4 0.1. And he's going to go red first, and then you'll see a blue screen. That's it. Okay. So now he's actually connected on his phone. Hold that up so people can see it. He's connected to the access point in this tiny little chip. Press load, and you're going to see a bunch of slots there. So slot 1 is, I've loaded a little program in there. It's a payload that's programmed on this device, but he could just as easily type in commands to send to this computer. So press load again. Now what it's going to do is it's going to take this preloaded payload, which is like a virus. It's stored on here. It's going to load it over into his phone. There it is. Show that around. Now press run. And when he presses run, watch the screen. Because now from his cell phone in the parking lot, it's actually running those commands. And let's see here. Hit run one more time. I had the wrong window open. There you go. Go for it. So here it goes. It's pulled up. It's actually running those same commands, and it's doing it faster because I took the timer. That's it. It's done. I couldn't get through a sentence, and it was up on the screen, done, over. And now we'll run the report again. Biden's at 31, Trump's at 56. Run report. Biden's at 56, Trump's at 31. So these companies tell us that these systems are secure. They are not at all secure. Not in any way. They, unfortunately, think we're idiots. I'm not an idiot, and I'm kind of tired of although trying to find out how to run this. Okay, here we go. Actually, I will stay here and run the rest of this. That way I can be looking at this. Okay, so normally the presentation I just show images. You all got to see this whole thing run completely live. I was shocked when I saw this. I was shocked and I was pissed off. Because we're being told as citizens, even our election officials are being told these systems are safe and secure, but they're not in any way safe or secure. We're all being lied to, and I'd like to know why, personally. I'm just out for the truth. It's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democrat issue. This is a free citizen issue. All our votes need to count accurately, and if there are entities attached wherever that are lying to us, that's a problem, and I do want to know why. Now, this is a report, a Red Team report done in 2014 by Freeman Craft McGregor Group. This report discusses the very vulnerability I just showed you 5 times over in 2014. Notice on the left side who contributed to that report. I'll zoom in. Bottom left. Steve Weingart, CISA. CISA is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the government agency that is responsible for securing our elections. And there have been many reports. This is just one of them I happened to come across, and I could not believe it that they talked about the exact same vulnerability I found in 2022 that they talked about in 2014. Unreal. Now, let's see here. Here's the conclusion of the report. Well, 4.14A1 build of democracy voting system proved to mitigate 4 previously enumerated vulnerabilities. Multiple medium and high vulnerabilities still exist within the suite of systems. A remote user could leverage most of the vulnerabilities across a network to obtain information about the system, voter ballots and results, or gain remote access to the system. If remote access is gained, recovery of user credentials through system memory analysis could be executed and used to modify the back-end database of the EMS server. They knew about it at least in 2014. The current versions of the software, even that came out very recently, still have this vulnerability in it. Why? Why? How did that happen? Who is responsible? And By the way, I looked through this report. A lot of the vulnerabilities they talk about in the report still exist also. Not just this one. Many others still exist. We're being lied to. All of us are being lied to. So now we've got state and corporate control of these systems, our tabulation systems, and the reporting system. And how do we know that? Well, I took a look at South Carolina's website, which is Secretary of State website, and I happened to look at the back-end code on the website. In any web browser you guys have, if you right-click in the white area, you'll get another menu, and then you can view the page source. And if you look at the HTML source code behind the web page, I found CITL in here. So everyone, all the citizens are thinking this is the Secretary of State site, when actually it's not. The Secretary of State had outsourced the reporting system to another company. Then that company created a very similar looking website, and they tried to link it to the Secretary of State site to make it look like that. Even the election officials were shocked. They didn't understand any of this. They thought it was the Secretary of State they were sending their results to. They didn't know. So the voter registration system controls number of ballots, voter validation, ballots counted, tabulation, how they got counted, and reporting what totals we see. Mail-in ballots create an inventory of ballots with real-time tracking. They track the ballots, they know exactly what's going into the system at all times, and if they know what's going into the system, they don't even need to know what the results are because they know what your voter registration is, right? They know what your party affiliation is, and they have social media profiles on people most likely. They probably know exactly what the results of the election are just by watching who mails in ballots. And then, of course, you come in early. They've got early advance notice before the election even gets going. They already have data coming in that they're looking at. Voter validation with the electronic poll books, they know who's walking in the door. When they know you walk in the door and you're a registered Democrat, they know who you're voting for. You're a Republican, they know who you're voting for. They can at least have a really good estimation of what that election is all about in real time. Before election day, by the way. I'll get to questions in a little bit. So the tabulation, then they have these LAT and RLA, so logic and accuracy testing, where they test the system to give all the election officials a false sense of security that the system's good. It doesn't actually test the system properly. It tests what will always pass. So everyone thinks the thing is safe. It's not. These LAT tests are BS. RLA, risk limiting audits, the only risk they limit is people that were able to manipulate it getting caught. That's what they limit. So, and the results, we haven't owned the results system in a long time. The results go through CITL and Clarity, then they go through Edison. Edison is a polling company, and they report to the New York Times and AP. It's a bad system. So all in all of this disenfranchises voters. The entire system is set up to disenfranchise voters. So all these people screaming about, well, we can't make this change, it'll disenfranchise voters. Our system already disenfranchises voters. We need to make some changes so we aren't disenfranchised. So we have close to no transparency in the existing system. And that's very dangerous. This is where we're at right now. We can't see into it, we don't understand it. That is frightening because we trust this system to control every aspect of our lives. In Sacramento County, California, this is the warehouse I got to tour in December of 2020. I looked in this, right inside the front door of this area that supposedly has a lock on it. That lock, the warehouse workers knew the combination to. In fact, they opened it for us. Notice these boxes that we're told these voting systems are made in the United States. Right on the box, made in China. They're not shy about it. The ballot printing station right inside the door, there's the laptop, ballot printing station. Take a look at the password taped to the keyboard at the ballot printing station that was filled with blank ballot paper, accessible to all the warehouse staff with no access controls. Now, you'll notice that password says California 2020 exclamation mark. Why don't you take a wild guess what the Colorado password was? So, I went to South Carolina next. Now, this is the DS200 lock and seal recommendations from their guide. This is the locks and the seals you're supposed to put on their DS200s. You guys have ES&S here also. Okay, this is Richland County, South Carolina. This is a voting center I went to. I just happened to have a late flight that day, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go check out a voting center while I'm in South Carolina. I just got done speaking there. I walked in, saw this machine. The only machine in the front. People are walking in, feeding ballots into it. You all probably have used similar machines here, right? So I look at it and I couldn't believe it. My jaw hit the floor so loud that I think everyone behind the counter heard it. Because I looked at that machine and saw this. What do you see? No seal. The seal's missing. And citizens are sitting there, these trusting citizens are sitting there feeding ballots into the machine, doing their civic duty and voting, and my heart is broken watching this. And I'm freaking out watching them use a machine that has a broken security seal on it, where the programming for the machine is underneath that door. Why is the seal broken? So here's another machine in another area in South Carolina. And we had people go out all over and they found this almost every voting center. Notice this one here. Now you do kind of see a seal there, right? But look at that. It's been pulled up and put back down. See the word voided in the back? These are the type of seals where if you pull them up and put them back down again, they show voided. They're a tamper evident seal. This one's been tampered with and not even put down. Right underneath where it's flipped up, that right there is where the key is, or where it goes. So this one's been violated as well. It gets worse. What else do you notice? Might be subtle. They didn't notice until I looked at these pictures and noticed it. Let's zoom in. The seals on the ballot storage compartments are also broken and missing. They're gone. So there's no security whatsoever on this system. You can't trust the programming on it. You can't trust the ballots that are loaded on the USB drives. And even the paper, you can't trust it's in it. The whole thing's wide open. There is absolutely zero excuse for this. And I don't know if you guys are looking real carefully here at what you have, but I suggest you do, because all over South Carolina they had this problem and everyone said, well, it's fine. No problem. So I wasn't real okay with that. So I called the sheriff and had the sheriff come in. And we filed a report with the sheriff. The election official actually tried to knock the sheriff's hand away so the sheriff couldn't take a picture of this seal missing. But the sheriff knew what was going on and took the picture. He didn't fully understand why he was taking the picture, but he knew that someone knew more than he did and that he should take the picture. So he took a picture of it, and shortly thereafter, mysteriously resigned. They know. Not all of them, but I think there's a lot of election officials out there, I think, that are trying to do their civic duty and that are good, honest people. I think a majority of them are. However, this system doesn't need the cooperation of the election officials in order to manipulate it from start to finish. They don't know. The more complex you make the system, the less secure the system becomes. So we need a simple system, and we need change right now. We're far too late into this. Exactly. Now, we can't see it, we can't verify it, we currently cannot understand it. It's too complex. We're counting dots on a piece of paper. We don't need that. Does anyone know who said this quote? I consider it completely unimportant who in the party will vote or how, but what is extraordinarily important is this. Who will count the votes and how? Yeah, that was Stalin. And we're here. We are here right now. So the whole thing is a magic show. It's a pageant. The entire election is a magic show, a pageant. Now, let's see here. This, you saw a little bit before that Russ had put together. Okay? This is how complex the current system is. And this is what we're really dealing with. This is not a system based on just blind trust. It's actually blindfolded trust. Because when we start asking questions, we are not given those answers. We are told to put on the blindfold and trust us. And that's where we're at. So at that point, their plan is to move everything to federalize it. There's already plans to move everything to e-voting. They're going to use all this energy to push us towards e-voting. That's what they're going to do. They're going to federalize the whole thing. When they do that, we have absolute zero visibility, zero transparency, and that right there is that word that we never want to see. So luckily we have some people that actually care and are ready to try to do something about this. And what we need to do is very simple. We cross that out, we cross this out, and we move forward, not backward, but we need to go to a precinct-based, in my opinion, hand count system, or very, very simple, dumb device, which that's going to be a little bit of a challenge because you can manipulate about anything, but we're going to work on it. But it has to be transparent, accurate, verifiable, and understandable to every American citizen. And then we go to a precinct and county-based system where paper poll books, tabulation at the precincts, and where we're doing it, not corporations that are doing it. And when we do that, we have 100% transparency. We end up free again. That's our only path. That's it. And so thank you. Thank you all.
We are running about 20 minutes behind, but I want to let two questions. Would you say two questions?
I will
Two
really
questions?
Yeah, really quick.
Two questions.
So, being able to take pictures, how did you take pictures? Because in 2020, when I tried to take a picture of my ballot, they wouldn't let me. They refused.
Okay, I'll tell you real quick. Sacramento, California, the election official knew something was up, and she begged me to come in there and look at it. And she very carefully showed me some things that she was very concerned about, and she's, I think, scared and trapped. And then the other one, I was told that I was going to be arrested if I took pictures, but I failed to find any law that prohibited me from doing it, so I continued to do it.
Well, and it's the same for South Carolina or whatever state you went to on title. Yes, I understand that's another state.
Yep.
I'm concerned about it, but I'm more concerned with him do the same thing here in Texas. Like, I would want him to do that.
Check and see if there's a law against it.
No. Where you went and you showed title in the page.
Oh, on the website? Yeah, you can do it on any website.
Yeah, did you do it on the Texas? That's what
I,
I on Texas.
I did not check Texas. I checked a couple states. Colorado was also the same thing. Yeah.
Why are you not checking Texas? Why are you checking?
Oh, you're not prohibited. Anyone can check it.
We'll check it real quick while we're all looking.
I'll check it on later on today and see. But here's the thing: now that they know that, they can cloak it all. You'd never know the difference. So really, you got to look at the contracts, and you have to have someone that knows what they're looking at go in to verify that it's actually done the way they say it's done. Originally Colorado, but I live on the road now because my life now is election integrity, and I just live out of a little suitcase and travel around the country.
Thanks for coming.